Aaron Rodgers. This video compresses information gathered from Wikipedia in video format. Studies prove that reading while listening improves comprehension, increases speed as well as expands vocabulary and enhances fluency. Video sections. Abstract. Early years. College career. Professional career. NFL career statistics. Personal life. Media appearances. Humanitarian and charitable efforts. External links. Give your feedback on the comments section. Support the channel by subscribing and liking the video. Thanks. Abstract. Aaron Charles Rodgers, born December 2, 1983, is an American football quarterback for the Green Bay Packers of the National Football League, NFL. Rodgers played college football at California, where he set several career passing records, including lowest single-season and career interception rates. He was selected in the first round of the 2005 NFL Draft by the Packers, after backing up Brett Favre for the first 3 years of his NFL career. Rodgers became the Packers' starting quarterback in 2008. In 2010, he led them to a victory in Super Bowl 45 over the Pittsburgh Steelers, earning the Super Bowl MVP. He was named Associated Press Athlete of the Year in 2011, and was voted League MVP by the Associated Press for the 2011 and 2014 NFL seasons. Rodgers has led the NFL 4 times in touchdown-to-interception ratio: 2011, 2012, 2014, 2018, and 4 times in lowest passing interception percentage: 2009, 2014, 2018, 2019, twice in passer rating: 2011, 2012, touchdown passing percentage: 2011, 2012, and once in touchdown passes: 2016, and yards per attempt: 2011. Rodgers is the NFL's all-time regular season career passer rating leader and is one of 2 quarterbacks to have a regular season career passer rating of over 100. The other being Russell Wilson. Rodgers is 5th all-time in postseason career passer rating, has the best touchdown-to-interception ratio in NFL history at 4.23, holds the league's lowest career interception percentage at 1.5% and the highest single-season passer rating record of 122.5. Rodgers is considered by some sportscasters and players to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Early years. Aaron Charles Rodgers was born in Chico, California, the son of Darla Lee and Edward Wesley Rodgers. Aaron's father is a Texas-born chiropractor who played football as an offensive lineman for the Chico State Wildcats from 1973 to 1976. His ancestry includes English, Irish and German. The family moved to Ukiah, California, where Aaron attended Oak Manor Elementary School. Edward Rodgers tossed a football with his sons Luke, Aaron and Jordan, and told them not to drink and not to party in college or they would limit themselves in sports. Like he did, Aaron took this advice to heart. At the age of 10, he was featured on the front page of the Ukiah Daily Journal for his top performance at a local basketball free throw competition. Later, the family moved to Beaverton, Oregon, where Rodgers attended Vose Elementary School and Whitford Middle School, and played baseball in the Raleigh Hills Little League at shortstop, center field and pitcher. The Rodgers family returned to Chico in 1997, and Aaron attended Pleasant Valley High School, starting for 2 years at quarterback and garnering 4,421 passing yards. He set single-game records of 6 touchdowns and 440 all-purpose yards. Rodgers set a single-season school record with 2,466 total yards in 2001. He graduated from Pleasant Valley High School in spring 2002, after scoring 1310 in the SAT and with an A average. College career. Despite his impressive high school record, Rodgers attracted little interest from Division I programs in a 2011 interview with E! 60. He attributed the relative lack of attention in the recruiting process to his unimposing physical stature as a high school player at 5 feet 10 inches, 1.78 meters, and 165 pounds, 75 kilograms. Rodgers had wanted to attend Florida State and play under head coach Bobby Bowden, but was rejected. He was only offered an opportunity to compete for a scholarship as a walk-on from Illinois. He declined the invitation, and considered quitting football to study for law school. He was then recruited to play football at Butte Community College in Oroville, a junior college about 15 miles, 25 kilometers, southeast of Chico. Rodgers threw 26 touchdowns in his freshman season at Butte Community College, leading the school to a 101 record, the NorCal Conference Championship, and a No.2 national ranking. While there, he was discovered by the California Golden Bears' head coach Jeff Tedford, who was recruiting Butte tight end Garrett Cross. Tedford was surprised to learn that Rodgers had not been recruited earlier. Because of Rodgers' good high school scholastic record, he was eligible to transfer to the University of California, Berkeley after 1 year of junior college instead of the typical 2. As a junior college transfer, Rodgers had 3 years of eligibility at Cal. He was named the starting quarterback in the 5th game of the 2003 season, beating the only team that offered him a Division I opportunity out of high school, Illinois. As a sophomore, he helped lead the Golden Bears to a 73 record as a starter. In his second career start, Rodgers led the team to a 217 halftime lead against number 3 USC. Due to injury, Rodgers was replaced in the second half by Reggie Robertson. The Bears won in triple overtime, 3,431. Rodgers passed for 394 yards and was named game MVP in the Insight Bowl against Virginia Tech. In 2003, Rodgers tied the school season record for 300-yard games with 5 and set a school record for the lowest percentage of passes intercepted at 1.43%. As a junior, Rodgers led Cal to a 101 record and top 5 ranking at the end of the regular season, with their only loss a 2,317 loss at No. 1 USC. In that game, Rodgers set a school record for consecutive completed passes with 26 and tied an NCAA record with 23 consecutive passes completed in one game. He set a Cal single-game record for passing completion percentage of 85.3. Rodgers holds the Cal career record for lowest percentage of passes intercepted at 1.95%. Rodgers' performance set up the Golden Bears at 1st and goal with 1:47 remaining and a chance for the game-winning touchdown. On the first play of USC's goal line stand, Rodgers threw an incomplete pass. This was followed by a second down sack by Manuel Wright. After a timeout and Rodgers' incomplete pass on 3rd down, USC stopped Cal's run play to win the game. Rodgers commented that it was frustrating that we couldn't get the job done. Overall, he finished the 2004 season with 2,566 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. His 66.1% pass completion percentage led the Pac-10. After Texas was picked over Cal for a Rose Bowl berth, the 4th-ranked Bears were awarded a spot in the Holiday Bowl, which they lost to Texas Tech, 4,531. After the season, Rodgers decided to forego his senior season to enter the 2005 NFL Draft. Professional career. Rodgers was expected to be selected early in the 2005 NFL Draft as he had posted impressive numbers as a junior with Cal, throwing for 2,320 yards with a 67.5 completion rating in the regular season. He threw for 24 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions in his last college season, impressing many NFL scouts. They commented that he was a talented, strong-armed junior, who combines arm strength, mechanics and delivery to make all the throws. but noted that his stats could be inflated due to playing in a quarterback-friendly system and that he would need to adjust to the more elaborate defensive schemes of the NFL. Before the draft, Rodgers was confident that he would be drafted to the team he supported and grew up near, the San Francisco 49ers, who possessed the No. 1 overall pick in the draft. The 49ers, however, drafted quarterback Alex Smith out of Utah instead, and Rodgers slid all the way down to the 24th overall pick by the Green Bay Packers. Rodgers has said that he experienced much angst and restlessness when waiting to be selected several hours into the draft, as he had expected himself to be selected much sooner. Rodgers slipped to the 24th selection, and the Packers choosing to pick Brett Favre's future replacement became one of the biggest stories of the draft. Though he was still the second quarterback selected, his drop in the draft was later ranked number 1 on the NFL Network's Top 10 Draft Day Moments. Many teams drafting between the 2nd and 23rd positions had positional needs more pressing than quarterback. Rodgers is one of 6 quarterbacks coached by Jeff Tedford to be drafted in the first round of an NFL draft, joining Trent Dilfer, Akili Smith, David Carr, Joey Harrington, and Kyle Bowler. In August 2005, Rodgers agreed to a reported 5-year, $7.7 million deal that included $5.4 million in guaranteed money and had the potential to pay him as much as $24.5 million if all incentives and escalators were met. Rodgers spent his rookie season with the 412 Packers as the Packers' backup quarterback behind Brett Favre. He received his first extended look in the opening preseason game against the San Diego Chargers. After replacing Favre, he had to endure a malfunctioning radio in his helmet and 2 offensive flags. In his first NFL game, Rodgers completed 2 out of 7 passes and was sacked twice. He continued to struggle through the preseason, before ending the preseason by converting 2 third downs and throwing a touchdown pass to tight end Ben Steele against the Tennessee Titans. Once the regular season began, Rodgers saw very little action that year. He played against the New Orleans Saints in the fourth quarter of a 523 victory, and completed his first career pass to fullback Vanta Leach for 0 yards. On December 19, 2005, Rodgers entered the game against the Baltimore Ravens at the end of the third quarter in a 483 loss. He completed 8 of 15 passes for 65 yards and an interception. Rodgers saw one more play at the end of the season against the Seattle Seahawks, taking a knee to end the game. Though Rodgers played very little in his rookie season, he ran the scout team during practice. His job was to mimic opponents' schemes for the defense for the game the following week. Rodgers said this was critical to his success, and that those were his game reps. The defense and scouts often complained that he was practicing too hard, and at one point asked him to tone it down. He stated that he had probably rubbed people the wrong way with how hard he practiced. Wide receiver Donald Driver commented that Rodgers took every scout team possession like it was the last possession of his life. After the Packers' losing season of Rodgers' rookie year, head coach Mike Sherman was fired and replaced by Mike McCarthy. Rodgers was then placed in McCarthy's quarterback school for 6 hours a day several times a week. This focused on working on Rodgers' motor skills such as hand-eye coordination, finger dexterity, and mechanics. McCarthy also worked on Rodgers' release point, moving it from right beside the ear hole of his helmet to further below it, to give him a smoother release. Rodgers was also instructed to lower his body fat ratio from 15% to 12%. Rodgers was resistant to the changes at first but later commented that he thought they were for the better. During practice in 11-on-11 drills, Rodgers completed 62.7% of his passes with 7 interceptions. And McCarthy commented that he's getting better, and that you're looking at a guy who's going to mature. He's got athletic ability that people still haven't seen. Favre did not attend the quarterback school under the new coaching staff and thus knew none of the terminology in the new system this year. It was here that the friendship between Rodgers and Favre began to form, as Rodgers instructed Favre which plays in the Sherman system corresponded to those in the new McCarthy system this year. When the preseason began, Rodgers played as the backup in all 4 games. He completed 22 out 38 passes for 323 yards and 3 touchdowns. Rodgers saw very little action during the 2006 season, but did step in on October 2 against the Philadelphia Eagles when Favre left the game due to injury. Rodgers completed 2 out of 3 passes for 13 yards. On November 19, 2006, Rodgers broke his left foot while playing against the New England Patriots in a 350 defeat at home, filling in for an injured Brett Favre, and Rodgers missed the remainder of the 2006 season. Rodgers made a full recovery and was ready for the start of the 2007 season. With then quarterbacks coach Tom Clements, Rodgers reviewed every play from the previous season, learning to read defensive coverages and to throw receivers open. Rodgers also took the spring practice reps with the Packers' first team this year. However, weeks after an emotional interview with NBC's Andrea Kramer, following the team's season-ending victory at Chicago, Favre announced that he would stay with the Packers for the 2007 season, again postponing Rodgers' hopes of becoming the Packers' starting quarterback. Prior to the 2007 season, rumors surfaced about a potential trade involving Rodgers in which he would be traded to the Oakland Raiders for wide receiver Randy Moss. However, Moss was traded to the New England Patriots during the second day of the 2007 NFL Draft, and Rodgers stayed in Green Bay. Rodgers stepped in when Favre was injured in the second quarter against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football on November 29, 2007. Rodgers completed 18 passes for 201 yards, with no interceptions. He also threw his first touchdown pass but was sacked 3 times. Rodgers brought the team back from a 17-point deficit to a 3-point deficit, but the Cowboys went on to win 3,727. Brett Favre's retirement announcement on March 4, 2008, opened up the Packers' starting quarterback position to Rodgers for the 2008 season. Although Favre decided to return from retirement, he was traded to the New York Jets, which meant that Rodgers would become the starter. Rodgers quickly proved that he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league by passing for 4,038 yards in his first season as a starter, as well as throwing for 28 touchdowns and only 13 interceptions. As of the 2018 season, this still stands as the most interceptions he has thrown in a season, with Rodgers making his debut as a starter. The Packers beat the Minnesota Vikings 2,419 at Lambeau Field. This marked the first time since 1992 that a quarterback other than Favre started a regular season game for the Packers. Rodgers ended the game with 178 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, 1 passing and 1 rushing, in just his second NFL start the following week. Rodgers was voted the FedEx Air Award winner after passing for 328 yards and 3 touchdowns in a win against the Detroit Lions. During the 4th week of the season, Rodgers' streak of 157 consecutive pass attempts without an interception ended when he was intercepted by Derek Brooks of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The streak was the 3rd longest in franchise history, behind Bart Starr, 294. and Brett Favre, 163. Rodgers suffered a severe shoulder sprain in the game but continued to start and played well in a win against the Seattle Seahawks 2 weeks later, which to many proved his toughness. Despite early successes, Rodgers had been unable to win a close game during the season despite 7 opportunities to do so. On October 31, 2008, Rodgers signed a 6-year, $65 million contract extension through the 2014 season. In Rodgers' first full season with the team, the Packers finished with a .610 record and missed the playoffs. For the opening game of the 2009 season, Rodgers recorded his first win in a comeback situation. The Packers were trailing at the beginning of the fourth quarter when Rodgers completed a 50-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Greg Jennings with about a minute remaining in the game, to contribute to the 2,115 victory over the Chicago Bears. Rodgers was named NFC Offensive Player of the Month for October 2009, when he passed for 988 yards, completed 74.5% of his passes, and recorded a passer rating over 110 for all 3 games played during the month. After a 44 start of the season and a 3,828 loss to the previously winless Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the team began to heat up. Rodgers led the Packers to 5 straight wins, in which he threw for a total of 1,324 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Rodgers and the Packers won 2 of their last 3 games, finishing the second half of the season with a 71 record and an overall 115 record, good enough to secure a wild-card playoff berth and clinch the 5th seed in the playoffs. The Packers set a new franchise record by scoring 461 total points, 3rd in the league, breaking the previous record held by the 1996 Super Bowl team, 456. Rodgers became the first quarterback in NFL history ever to throw for 4,000 yards in both of his first 2 years as a starter. He finished the season 4th in passing yards, 4,434, touchdown passes, 30, passer rating, 103.2, and yards per attempt, 8.2, as well as 8th in completion percentage, 64.7%, while also coming second among quarterbacks in rushing yards, 316. His passing yardage made him second all-time in Packers history, behind only Lynn Dickey's all-time single-season record. His passer rating of 103.2 was also 3rd highest in team history at the time, behind only Bart Starr's 105.0 rating in 1966 and 104.3 rating in 1968. Minimum 150 attempts. In the wild-card round, the Packers played the Arizona Cardinals, the same team they had previously beaten the week before, 337. Rodgers and Cardinals quarterback Kurt Warner put on a show that later ranked second on NFL Network's top 10 quarterback duels. Rodgers' first pass was intercepted by Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. Rodgers settled down after that miscue, however, and finished the game completing 28 of 42 passes for 423 yards, with 4 touchdown passes all in a second-half comeback. His 423 passing yards are the most by any quarterback in his first playoff game, as well as his 4 touchdown passes and 5 total touchdowns. Kurt Warner shredded the Packers' second-ranked defense, completing 29 of 33 passes for 379 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a passer rating of 154.1. Despite Rodgers' offensive efforts, the Packers lost the game when he fumbled on a controversial play in overtime. The ball was returned by Carlos Dansby for the winning touchdown in the 5,145 Cardinals victory. It was the highest-scoring playoff game in NFL history. Due to his regular season performance, Rodgers earned a trip to his first Pro Bowl as the NFC's 3rd quarterback, behind Drew Brees and Brett Favre. However, after Favre dropped out due to injury and Brees was replaced due to his participation in Super Bowl XLIV, Rodgers became the NFC's starter. He finished the day with 15 of 19 passing, 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. In 2010, Rodgers led the Packers to a 20 start, but then lost 3 of their next 4 games, including back-to-back overtime losses. The 2 overtime defeats brought Rodgers' record in overtime games to 0-5. At mid-season, Rodgers had already thrown 9 interceptions compared to only throwing 7 all of the previous season, and was 16th in the league with an 85.3 passer rating. Over the remainder of the regular season, However, his play improved as he threw 16 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions, completed 71.4% of his passes, and had a passer rating of 122.0. In Week 13, in a 3,416 victory over the San Francisco 49ers, Rodgers had 298 passing yards and 3 touchdowns to earn his first career NFC Offensive Player of the Week honor. In Week 14, he sustained his second concussion of the season. Backup Matt Flynn was put into the game as Rodgers' replacement. The Packers lost the game 73 to the Detroit Lions. Against the New England Patriots, Rodgers missed the next week's regular season start, ending his streak of consecutive starts at 45, which is tied for the second longest in team history. After their road loss to the Patriots, the Packers found themselves at 86 and had to win their final 2 regular season games to qualify for the playoffs. Rodgers turned around the team's performance. They won their final 2 regular season games, one of them against the New York Giants, where Rodgers completed 25 of 37 passes for 404 yards, with 4 touchdown passes, and with a passer rating of 139.9. It was his first regular season 400-yard passing game. For his effort against the Giants, he earned his second NFC Offensive Player of the Week honor for the 2010 season. In the next game, they defeated the Chicago Bears by a score of 103 in the regular season finale. Rodgers was named the FedEx Air NFL Player of the Year for his passing performance in the 2010 season. With a 106 record, the Packers entered the playoffs as a wild card and the No. 6 seed. In the wild card round, they defeated the No. 3 seeded Philadelphia Eagles 2,116. In the divisional round, Rodgers completed 31 of 36 pass attempts for 366 yards and 4 touchdowns in a 4,821 blowout victory over the No. 1 seeded Atlanta Falcons. It was the most points scored in Packers postseason history. During the contest, Rodgers tied an NFL record for consecutive playoff games with at least 3 touchdown passes. 3 games. Rodgers also set an NFL record by becoming the only quarterback to pass for 10 touchdowns combined through 3 consecutive playoff games. On January 23, 2011, Rodgers had a 55.4 passer rating as the Packers beat the No. 2 seed Chicago Bears 2,114 win to capture the NFC Championship. After winning the NFC Championship, the Packers earned a trip to Super Bowl XLV, a game in which they won 3,125 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the game, Rodgers completed 24 of 39 pass attempts for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns in the win, and was named Super Bowl MVP for his performance. From his playoff performance, Rodgers became only the 3rd player in NFL history to pass for over 1,000 yards in a single postseason and also became one of only 4 quarterbacks to record over 300 yards passing, with at least 3 touchdown passes and no interceptions in a Super Bowl. He finished with 1,094 passing yards, 4th most all-time, 9 touchdown passes, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, while completing 68.2% of his passes for a passer rating of 109.8. From this postseason, Rodgers also became the only player to pass for at least 900 yards and rush for at least 2 touchdowns in a single postseason. He was ranked 11th by his fellow players on the NFL Top 100 Players of 2011. Because of the 2011 NFL lockout, the Packers and Rodgers didn't schedule unofficial off-season workouts. Despite many teams doing so, Rodgers and the Packers quickly quelled any concerns over their readiness by defeating the New Orleans Saints, who had scheduled off-season workouts. 4,234. He had 312 passing yards and 3 touchdowns to earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. After the game, Rodgers said in the press conference, I was going to ask myself, what would have happened if we had off-season workouts? I mean, could we have started any faster and scored more points tonight? Quote, in Week 4, a 4,923 victory over the Denver Broncos, Rodgers had 408 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception to earn another NFC Offensive Player of the Week honor. In Week 6, a 243 victory over the St. Louis Rams, Rodgers converted on a career-high 93-yard touchdown pass to Jordy Nelson. In Week 9, a 4,538 victory over the San Diego Chargers, he had 247 passing yards and 4 touchdowns to earn his third NFC Offensive Player of the Week honor for the 2011 season. Rodgers and the Packers got off to a 130 start in 2011, tying the NFC record for most consecutive wins to start a season, but were upset by the Kansas City Chiefs 19-14 in Week 15, ending their winning streak at 19 games, the second longest winning streak in NFL history. Rodgers finished the season with 4,643 passing yards, 45 touchdown passes, and 6 interceptions, good for a passer rating of 122.5, which as of 2018 is the highest single-season passer rating in NFL history. In addition to passer rating, Rodgers led the league in touchdown-to-interception ratio, 7.5, fourth best all-time, touchdowns passing percent, 9.0%, second highest all-time, and yards per attempt, 9.2, fourth highest all-time since becoming an official stat in 1970, while finishing second in both touchdown passes, 45, sixth highest all-time, and completion percentage, 68.3%, as well as fifth in passing yards. He earned NFC Offensive Player of the Month awards for September, October, and November, and FedEx Air Player of the Week 6 times. In Week 4 against the Denver Broncos, Rodgers became the only quarterback in NFL history to record over 400 passing yards with 4 touchdown passes, while also rushing for 2 touchdowns in the same game. He was the winner of the 2011 Galloping Gobbler as MVP of the Thanksgiving game between the Packers and the Detroit Lions, a 2,715 Green Bay victory, and tied an NFL record for consecutive games with at least 2 touchdown passes. 13. The Packers became the 5th team in NFL history to finish the regular season with a 151 record. Rodgers played in 15 of the 16 games, with the only exception being Week 17 against the Detroit Lions, a game in which Rodgers was rested after the club clinched home field advantage for the playoffs. The previous week, in the game, Rodgers assisted backup quarterback Matt Flynn in his stellar 480-yard, 6-touchdown performance by helping call some plays. The Packers' offense set franchise record for points scored in a season with 560, which as of 2016 is the third most ever behind only the 2007 Patriots and 2013 Broncos. Rodgers set numerous NFL records in 2011. He recorded a passer rating of over 100.0 in 13 games during the season, including 12 games in a row, both records, and a passer rating of 110.0 or higher in 12 games, including 11 in a row, also records. Rodgers also won the league's MVP award, receiving 48 of the 50 votes. He also finished second, behind Brees, for the AP Offensive Player of the Year award. Rodgers' 2011 season was later ranked as the third greatest passing season of all time by ESPN in 2013, and was regarded as the most efficient. The Packers were upset by the eventual Super Bowl champion New York Giants in the divisional round. The score of 3,720. The Packers' receiving corps dropped 6 passes in the loss and Rodgers finished the game with 264 passing yards, 2 touchdown passes, and an interception on his last pass attempt. The 2011 Packers became the only team in NFL history to go 151 and not win a playoff game, as well as being the fourth consecutive team to win at least 15 games and not win the Super Bowl. He was named to the Pro Bowl for his 2011 season to go along with the first-team All-Pro honor. He was voted by his fellow players as the best player in the league on the NFL Top 100 Players of 2012. Rodgers and the Packers started off the 2012 season with a 3,022 loss to the San Francisco 49ers. With the loss, Rodgers lost his bet with the music group Boyz II Men, and had to wear an Alex Smith jersey during the next week of practice. Had the Packers won the game, Boyz II Men would have sung the national anthem during their next home game at Lambeau. In Week 4, a 2,827 victory over the New Orleans Saints, Rodgers had 319 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception to earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. In Week 6 against the undefeated Houston Texans, he tied the franchise record by throwing 6 touchdown passes in a 4,224 victory to earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. The Texans had allowed only 6 total touchdowns passes during the season up to that point. This sparked a 5-game winning streak which Rodgers completed 65.7% of his passes for 1,320 yards, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 119.1. During that stretch, Rodgers was named NFC Offensive Player of the Month for October. In Week 15, Rodgers threw for 291 yards and 3 touchdowns to lead the Packers past the Chicago Bears, 2,113, making them NFC North champions for the second consecutive year. In the season finale, despite Rodgers going 28 of 40 for 365 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions and a passer rating of 131.8, the Packers lost 3,734 against the Minnesota Vikings. This ended the Packers' 12-game winning streak against NFC North opponents. The Packers finished with an 115 record, first in the NFC North, and clinched the number 3 seed in the NFC playoffs. Rodgers led the league for the second straight year in passer rating, 108.0. touchdowns passing percent, 7.1%, and touchdown to interception ratio, 4.875, while finishing second in touchdown passes, 39, third in completion percentage, 67.2%, fifth in yards per attempt, 7.78, and eighth in passing yards, 4,295. In the playoffs, the Packers defeated the Minnesota Vikings 2,410 in the wild-card round. Rodgers completed 23 of 33 passes to 10 different players for 274 yards and a touchdown. They were beaten 4,531 by the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. Rodgers completed 26 of 39 passes for 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, while also rushing for 28 yards. In the losing effort, he earned his third career Pro Bowl nomination for his performance in the 2012 season. He was ranked 6th by his peers on the NFL Top 100 Players of 2013. On April 26, 2013, the Packers and Rodgers agreed to a 5-year, $110 million contract extension, making him the highest-paid player in NFL history. The Packers began their 2013 season against the reigning NFC champions, the San Francisco 49ers, the team that also ended their playoff run the previous season. Rodgers went 21 for 37 incompletions, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception in the 3,428 loss. The following week, Rodgers had a career-high 480 passing yards to tie the franchise record in the 3,820 home opener win against the Washington Redskins. He earned NFC Offensive Player of the Week for his effort against the Redskins. His 335 passing yards in the first half set a club record. He also became the first quarterback since Y.A. Tittle in 1962 to throw for at least 480 yards, 4 touchdowns and no interceptions in a game. For his performance he was named NFC Offensive Player of the Week for Week 2. The following week, Rodgers saw his NFL record of 41 consecutive games without throwing multiple interceptions come to an end in a loss to the Cincinnati Bengals by the score of 3,430. After the loss to the Bengals, the Packers started rolling, winning their next 4 games. Against the Baltimore Ravens, the Packers lost 2 receivers, Randall Cobb and James Jones. Cobb was sidelined with a broken leg and Jones with a sprained PCL. Against the Cleveland Browns, tight end Jermichael Finley was carted off the field with a bruised spinal cord, leaving Rodgers without 3 of his top 4 offensive weapons. The next week against the Minnesota Vikings, Rodgers completed 24 of 29 passes in a 4,431 victory. At home against the Chicago Bears in Week 9, Rodgers was sacked by Shea McClellin. He fractured his left clavicle in the process, and the speculation for his return ranged from a few weeks to an indefinite timetable that became a weekly spectacle of whether or not or when he might be cleared to play again. Before Rodgers had broken his collarbone, the Packers had won 4 straight games to climb to the top of the NFC North Division with a 52 record. With Rodgers injured and unable to play, the Packers went winless over the next 5 weeks to fall to 561 on the season. After rallying in December behind reacquired backup quarterback Matt Flynn, the Packers had fought their way back to a 771 record going into the final week of the season. On Thursday, December 26, Packers head coach Mike McCarthy announced Rodgers would return and start in the season finale showdown against the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field for the NFC North Championship. Returning from the injury, Rodgers threw for 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in the regular season finale against the Bears, trailing 2,728 with under a minute to go in the game and facing the third 4th down of the drive. A 4th and 8 from the 48-yard line. Rodgers connected with Randall Cobb, who was also returning for his first game since breaking his leg in Week 6, for a 48-yard game-winning touchdown to clinch the NFC North and earn the right to host a home playoff game against the San Francisco 49ers as the 4th seed. Rodgers won the 2013 GMC Never Say Never award for the come-from-behind division-winning touchdown pass. Rodgers finished 5th in the league in passer rating, 104.9, completion percentage, 66.6%, and yards per game, 282, while also finishing 2nd in yards per attempt, 8.75. Rodgers led the Packers to the playoffs again, this time with an 871 record, and were up against the team that eliminated them last year in their divisional round of the playoffs, the San Francisco 49ers. The Packers lost to the 49ers for the 4th consecutive time, 2,320 on a last-second field goal at Lambeau Field. In the wild-card round, Rodgers recorded only 177 yards passing, his lowest in a playoff game, and 1 touchdown pass. He was ranked number 11 by his fellow players on the NFL Top 100 Players of 2014. The Packers' 2014 regular season debut came against the defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks, a game in which they would go on to lose 3,616. In Week 2, the team began the game with a 213 deficit against the New York Jets, but came back and won 3,124. The 18-point comeback marked the biggest comeback in Rodgers' career. In the 3rd week of the season, the Packers' offense was shut down by the Detroit Lions' defense, 197. The Packers' 7 points were the fewest points allowed in a game. Rodgers finished The 223 yards of total Packer offense were the lowest since Rodgers took over at quarterback, and his 162 passing yards were also a career low. For the third consecutive season, the Packers were off to a 12th start. In those 3 games, Rodgers threw 5 touchdowns and 1 interception combined, with a passer rating of 95.1. Amid widespread concern, Rodgers told the fans and the media, "Relax. Relax. We're going to be okay." After their loss to the Lions, the Packers went on a 4-game win streak, during which Rodgers threw 13 touchdowns with no interceptions. In Week 4, a 3,817 victory over the Chicago Bears, he had 302 passing yards and 4 touchdowns to earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. In Week 6 against the Miami Dolphins, Rodgers led the Packers to a game-winning drive with less than 2 minutes remaining. He completed a 4th and 10 pass to wide receiver Jordy Nelson and mimicked Dan Marino's famous fake spike play by completing a pass to wide receiver Davante Adams to get to within 4 yards of the end zone later in the drive. Rodgers then completed a touchdown pass to tight end Andrew Corliss to win the game 2,724. This play would later win Rodgers the GMC Never Say Never Moment of the Year award. In Week 7, a 3,817 victory over the Carolina Panthers, he was 19 of 22 for 255 passing yards and 3 touchdowns to earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. In a Week 8 loss against the New Orleans Saints, Rodgers finished 28 of 39 for 418, with 1 touchdown pass and 2 interceptions, ending his 212 consecutive attempts without an interception streak, the second longest in team history. In the game, Rodgers injured his hamstring, which appeared to have an effect on his play for the remainder of the game. In Week 10 against the Chicago Bears, Rodgers became the second player in NFL history and the first since Darrell LaMonica in 1969 to throw 6 touchdown passes in the first half. Rodgers finished 18 of 27 for 315 yards and 6 touchdowns despite only playing 1 drive in their second half to earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Rodgers set multiple records during the game. Most touchdown passes of 70 or more yards, with 16 breaking the record held by Brett Favre and Peyton Manning. Most consecutive touchdown passes without an interception at home, breaking the record also held by Favre and Manning, and became the first quarterback to ever have 10 touchdown passes against the same team in a season. In a Week 11 game against the 72 Philadelphia Eagles, Rodgers set a record for most consecutive attempts at home without an interception, breaking Tom Brady's record of 288 consecutive attempts. In the 5,320 victory, he finished going 22 of 36, with 341 passing yards, 3 touchdown passes and no interceptions. The 83 Packers met the 92 New England Patriots in Week 13 at Lambeau Field in what was Tom Brady and Rodgers' first time playing against each other as starters. Rodgers finished going 24 of 38, with 368 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns in the 2,621 Packers victory. For his efforts in the month of November, he earned NFC Offensive Player of the Month. Rodgers suffered a calf injury in Week 16 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Due to severe dehydration he endured from flu-like symptoms he suffered during the week. In the Week 17 game against the Detroit Lions, Rodgers re-injured his left calf while extending a play and throwing a touchdown pass to Randall Cobb, then was helped off the field and carted off to the locker room after missing a series. Rodgers re-entered the game with the score tied 14-14. Despite being less mobile with the injury, Rodgers completed 13 of 15 passes for 129 yards and 2 scores against the league's second-ranked defense. The Packers won 3,020, winning their 4th straight NFC North title. Rodgers finished 17 of 22 for 226 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, a 139.6 passer rating, and a rushing touchdown to earn his 4th NFC Offensive Player of the Week honor for the 2014 season. The Packers secured a 2nd seed in the NFC, rewarding them with a playoff bye and a week off, which helped Rodgers rest and rehabilitate his injured left calf. In the divisional round, the Packers were scheduled to play the 134 Dallas Cowboys, which marked the first time in NFL playoff history when a team which went undefeated at home, Packers, played against a team which went undefeated away, Cowboys. Rodgers helped secure a 2,621 victory by finishing 24 of 35 for 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 125.4 passer rating. The Packers then traveled to Seattle to face the top-seeded Seahawks in a rematch of the regular season opener. In the NFC Championship, the Packers were leading 197 with just over 5 minutes to go. But the home team's offense finally woke up and, with the assistance of a crucial Packers special teams gaffe on an onside kick, the Seahawks led 2,219. With 44 seconds remaining, Rodgers quickly drove downfield to set up a tying field goal, only to watch from the sidelines as the Seahawks won the coin toss in overtime and proceeded to score the game-winning touchdown on their first possession. Rodgers was 19 for 34 for 178 yards and a touchdown, with 2 interceptions in the losing effort. Rodgers finished the regular season first in touchdown-to-interception ratio, 7.6. Lowest interception percentage, 1.0%. Second in passer rating, 112.2. Yards per attempt, 8.4. And touchdown passing percentage, 7.1%. Third in touchdown passes, 38. Seventh in passing yards, 4,381. And ninth in completion percentage, 65.6%. He set an NFL record for most consecutive pass attempts, 512, at home without an interception, and touchdown passes, 41. Rodgers was voted the NFL Most Valuable Player for the 2014 season, receiving 31 votes, and was named NFC Offensive Player of the Year by the Kansas City Committee of 101 and FedEx Air NFL Player of the Year. He was also named to the All-Pro team as the first quarterback, receiving 44 votes, while runner-up Tony Romo received 3. He was named to the Pro Bowl for the 2014 season. He was ranked as the second best player in the league among his fellow players on the NFL Top 100 Players of 2015. In 2015, Rodgers had a down year by his standards. He threw for a career-low 3,821 yards in which he played for at least 15 games. Although he had 31 touchdowns to just 8 interceptions, Rodgers completed only 60.7 of his passes, averaged only 6.7 yards per attempt and finished with a passer rating of 92.7. All career lows. Pro Bowl wide receiver Jordy Nelson's absence due to injury for the season was considered a contributing factor in Rodgers' statistical drop compared to previous seasons. In Week 3, a 3,828 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs, Rodgers had 333 passing yards and 5 touchdowns to earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. During Week 9 against the Carolina Panthers, he finished with 369 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The interception came with only 1:47 left in the fourth quarter. And following the interception, Rodgers expressed frustration by throwing down a Microsoft Surface tablet. The Packers ended up losing the game 2,937. On December 3, 2015, in a Week 13 matchup against the Detroit Lions, Rodgers threw a Hail Mary pass caught by Richard Rodgers for 61 yards with 0 left to beat their Lions 2,723. after the game was extended due to a face mask penalty called on Detroit. The play was quickly dubbed as the Miracle in Motown. The Packers made the playoffs as the 5th seed in the NFC with a 106 record. They defeated the Washington Redskins 3,518 on the road in the wild card round of the playoffs. Rodgers finished the game with 210 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. In the divisional round against the Arizona Cardinals, Rodgers threw a 41-yard Hail Mary touchdown pass to Jeff Janis as time expired to send the game into overtime. However, the Packers lost 2,620 in overtime. Rodgers finished the game 24 for 44 for 261 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He was named to his 5th Pro Bowl and was ranked as the 6th best player by his peers on the NFL Top 100 Players of 2016. Throughout the first 5 games of the 2016 season, Rodgers' struggles from the 2015 season appeared to continue. Through those games, he completed 60.2% of his passes, averaged 6.5 yards per attempt, and posted a passer rating of 88.4, all of which are similar to his 2015 numbers. He also fumbled 5 times and lost 2. His lackluster performance through those games caused much speculation about the causes of his problems. In a Week 7 Thursday Night Football game against the Chicago Bears, Rodgers rebounded by recording a franchise record and career-high 39 completions, breaking Brett Favre's previous record of 36 in 1993. Also against the Bears, Rodgers recorded 326 passing yards for his first 300-yard passing game since Week 10 of the 2015 season in the 2,610 win. The following week against the Atlanta Falcons, Rodgers recorded a career regular season high of 60 rushing yards, and finished with 4 touchdown passes and a 125.5 passer rating. After a Week 11 loss to the Washington Redskins, the Packers' 4th in a row, putting them at 46, Rodgers was optimistic about the remainder of the season, saying, "I feel like we can run the table. I really do." Despite widespread doubt over the likelihood of such a run, the Packers would go on to finish the season with 6 straight wins, as Rodgers said they could. In a Week 12 Monday Night Football game, Rodgers appeared to injure his hamstring on a scrambling play against the Philadelphia Eagles. After the play, Rodgers went into an injury tent on a sideline to get his leg taped up. Rodgers, however, did not miss any snaps in the game and finished 30 out of 39 for 313 yards with no sacks or interceptions. His 300-yard performance was his 4th of the season and the first allowed by the Eagles' defense. All season, the Packers won 2,713, snapping their 4-game losing streak in a 3,810 victory over the Seattle Seahawks in a Week 14 game. Rodgers and the Packers continued their recent offensive and defensive success. Rodgers finished with 246 passing yards, 3 touchdown passes and a 150.8 passer rating. The 150.8 passer rating was the best recorded against Seattle's defense since head coach Pete Carroll took over in 2010. Rodgers did this despite suffering a calf injury early in the game. He was named NFC Offensive Player of the Week for his performance against the Seahawks. On December 20, 2016, Rodgers was selected to his 3rd consecutive Pro Bowl and his 6th overall in his career. During Week 16, Rodgers and Drew Brees tied the NFL record for most seasons with at least 35 touchdown passes, with 4, a record shared with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. In the game against the Minnesota Vikings, Rodgers finished 28 of 38 for 347 yards, 4 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown to earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. His 300-yard performance was the first allowed by the Vikings defense all season. He also set Packer regular season records for most 4,000-yard passing seasons. 6. Most completions in a season, 374. and Worth-Jordy Nelson most touchdowns by a quarterback-wide receiver combination with 59. Rodgers was named NFC Offensive Player of the Month for December. Rodgers helped lead the Packers to a NFC North title and a playoff berth in 2016. The Packers defeated the New York Giants in the wild-card round. Rodgers completed 25 of 40 passes for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns in the victory. They defeated the number 1 seed Dallas Cowboys in the divisional round, with the game tied at 31 with only 18 seconds remaining with the ball on their own 32-yard line. Rodgers threw a 36-yard completion to tight end Jared Cook to put the Packers in Mason Crosby's field goal range. Crosby converted the 51-yard attempt as time expired to win the game. Overall, Rodgers completed 28 of 43 passes for 355 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception in the victory. The Packers lost to the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC Championship in the final game at the Georgia Dome. Rodgers completed 27 of his 45 passing attempts for 287 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception in the losing effort. In 2016, Rodgers finished with 401 completions in 610 attempts, both career highs. A 65.7% completion percentage, 4,428 passing yards, 40 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions, a passer rating of 104.2, 369 rushing yards, career high, and 4 rushing touchdowns. With his 40 touchdown passes, he led the league in the statistic for the first time in his career and became one of only 4 quarterbacks to pass for at least 40 touchdowns in multiple seasons. Rodgers also finished 4th in passing yards, completions, attempts, and passer rating amongst quarterbacks. He finished 3rd in rushing yards and 5th in rushing touchdowns. He was ranked 6th by his peers on the NFL Top 100 Players of 2017. In a Week 1 win against the Seattle Seahawks, Rodgers had his 50th career game with at least 300 passing yards. He finished the game with 311, but his streak of 251 consecutive passes without an interception came to an end when defensive tackle Nazir Jones picked him off in the first quarter. In the next game, a 3,423 loss to the Atlanta Falcons in Week 2, he had 343 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception in the first game in the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. In Week 5, down by 2,831 against the Dallas Cowboys with less than 2 minutes on the clock, Rodgers led a 9-play, 75-yard touchdown drive in the 3,531 victory, earning him NFC Offensive Player of the Week. During Week 6 against the Minnesota Vikings, Rodgers was taken off the field by his coaches and medical personnel after suffering a shoulder injury on a hit from Anthony Barr. Shortly thereafter, it was revealed that Rodgers suffered a fractured right collarbone. The next day, on October 16th, it was announced that Rodgers would have surgery on his broken collarbone. On October 19th, he underwent surgery on his collarbone and was officially placed on injured reserve the next day. A total of 13 screws were inserted to stabilize his collarbone. Rodgers returned to practice on December 2, 2017, making him eligible to play in the upcoming Week 15 game. On December 12, 2017, it was announced that Rodgers was medically cleared by doctors and was set to start the next game against the Carolina Panthers. He was officially activated on December 16, 2017. Rodgers returned during Week 15 against the Panthers, where he finished with 290 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions as the Packers lost 2,431. However, 2 days later, on December 19, Rodgers was placed back on injured reserve after the Packers were eliminated from playoff contention. He was ranked number 10 by his fellow players on the NFL Top 100 Players of 2018. On August 29, 2018, Rodgers signed a 4-year extension with the Packers worth $134 million, featuring a $57.5 million signing bonus. During Sunday Night Football against the Chicago Bears in Week 1, Rodgers left the game with a knee injury but returned in the third quarter. Down by 20 points, Rodgers finished with 286 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, leading the Packers' rally to a 2,423 win. Despite a nagging knee injury, Rodgers had at least 40 pass attempts in each of the next 3 games. In the last of these, he threw his first interception in 150 attempts. In Week 5, Rodgers passed for 442 yards, the second best of his career, and 3 touchdowns, but also 2 fumbles, in a 3,123 loss to the Detroit Lions. In the following game, a 3,330 victory over the San Francisco 49ers, he had 425 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Following the bye week, despite a continuing knee injury, Rodgers had his third consecutive week with a 100-plus quarterback rating, which included 286 yards passing, no interceptions, and a go-ahead 40-yard touchdown pass to Marquez Valdes-Scantling in a 2,927 loss to the Los Angeles Rams. In Week 13 against the Atlanta Falcons, Rodgers set an NFL record by converting his 359th consecutive pass without an interception, breaking Tom Brady's previous record. In Week 15 against the Chicago Bears, Rodgers threw for 274 yards and an interception in a 2,417 loss. Rodgers' record streak without an interception ended with 402 pass attempts after he was intercepted by free safety Eddie Jackson. During Week 16 against the New York Jets, Rodgers finished with 442 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns, trailing at one point by 15 points. Rodgers and the Packers won 4,438 in overtime. He matched his own feat of achieving at least 400 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single game. The only other time in NFL history that occurred was when Rodgers accomplished it in 2011 against the Denver Broncos. On December 18, 2018, Rodgers was named to his 7th Pro Bowl. He declined the appearance due to injury and was replaced by Russell Wilson. In the regular season finale against the Detroit Lions, Rodgers suffered a concussion early in the game and would not return. He was then sent to the hospital to test for concussion symptoms because the Packers had already been eliminated from playoff contention. Rodgers answered questions about whether he should be playing for fear of injury by saying, "That's just not the way I lead. And I'm super competitive. And I want to be out there with the guys and I look forward to being out there." Rodgers was later spotted at the Packers facility after the game. Rodgers finished the season with 372 completions, 597 attempts, 4,442 passing yards, 25 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions and a passer rating of 97.6. His touchdown-to-interception ratio of 25-2, 12.5, ranked 3rd best all-time. In 300 attempts, in addition to setting the record for consecutive passes without an interception during the season. Rodgers set NFL records for interception percentage for a season, with only 0.335% of his passes being intercepted, and for the amount of thrown-away passes. He was ranked 9th by his fellow players on the NFL Top 100 Players of 2019. Rodgers started the 2019 season with a new head coach in Matt LaFleur following the departure of Mike McCarthy. The Packers' offense relied less on Rodgers' trademark passes and more on heavy formations and play-action throws to take advantage of running back Aaron Jones. Rodgers helped lead the Packers to a 30 start with victories over the Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, and Denver Broncos. In Week 4, against the Philadelphia Eagles, he had 422 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 interception in the 3,427 loss on Thursday Night Football. In Week 5, against the Dallas Cowboys, Rodgers completed 22 passes out of 34 attempts for 238 yards in the 3,424 win. In Week 7 against the Oakland Raiders, Rodgers posted his first ever game with a perfect passer rating of 158.3. The first quarterback in team history to do so. He completed 25 of 31 passes for 429 yards and 5 touchdowns in the 4,224 victory. He was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week for his performance. The next week, he had 305 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns in a 3,124 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs on NBC Sunday Night Football. In Week 13 against the New York Giants, Rodgers threw for 243 yards and 4 touchdowns in the 3,113 win. In Week 17 against the Detroit Lions, Rodgers threw for 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception during the 2,320 comeback win. As a result of the victory, the Packers secured a first-round bye in the playoffs. Rodgers finished the 2019 season with 4,002 passing yards, 26 passing touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. In the divisional round of the playoffs against the Seattle Seahawks, Rodgers completed 16 passes on 27 attempts and threw for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns during the 2,823 win. In the NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers, Rodgers completed 31 passes on 39 attempts and threw for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns, but also threw 2 interceptions, including one to Richard Sherman in the final 2 minutes of the game as the Packers lost 3,720. It was Rodgers' 4th straight poor performance in the NFC Championship game, with 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 78.0 passer rating in those contests. NFL career statistics. Career stats accurate as of Week 17 of the 2019 season. Personal life. Rodgers lived in Suamico, Wisconsin, a northern suburb of Green Bay roughly 10 miles from Lambeau Field, until 2017. He also owns a home in the affluent beach community Del Mar, California, 20 miles north of downtown San Diego, and lives in Los Angeles during the off-season. He has 2 brothers. The younger, Jordan, played quarterback at Vanderbilt University, briefly spent time with the Jacksonville Jaguars and later with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Growing up, Rodgers was raised Christian, but in adulthood, he says he no longer affiliates himself with any organized religion. Rodgers was in a relationship with actress Olivia Munn from 2014 to 2017. In 2018, Rodgers began dating former race car driver Danica Patrick. Rodgers and Milwaukee Brewers player Ryan Braun's names were jointly on a Milwaukee restaurant, but later closed after Braun's ped scandal. Rodgers, after strongly backing Braun, claimed he had been lied to by Braun about his ped usage. In April 2018, Rodgers was announced as a limited partner in the Milwaukee Bucks ownership group, making him the first active NFL player with an ownership stake in an NBA franchise. Media appearances. Since becoming a starter in 2008, Rodgers has become known for his unique touchdown celebration, which he and his teammates have dubbed the championship belt. After a scoring play, Rodgers celebrates by making a motion as if he is putting an invisible championship belt on around his waist. Teammate Greg Jennings said of the celebration, "It's just something fun that he does. We get excited when we see it cause we know that he's made a play or we've made a play as offense." The gesture drew the praise of World Wrestling Entertainment wrestler Triple H and has become common for Green Bay fans to mimic during games. Rodgers' celebration is also featured in a series of State Farm insurance commercials, renamed the Discount Double Check. Various teammates, including Raji, Matthews, and Cobb have joined him in the advertisements. Rodgers has also been featured in Pizza Hut advertisements, as well as numerous local Wisconsin-based advertisements. In 2015, Rodgers made a cameo appearance, along with Packers teammate HaHa Clinton Dixon, fellow NFL players Ledger Douzable, D'Brickashaw Ferguson, Tank Carradine, Prince Amukamara, Fozzie Whitaker, Ismaili Kitchen, and Frosty Rucker, in a segment of the second season of the sketch comedy television series Key and Peele. The segment was the third installment of East-West College Bowl, a sketch that spoofed player introductions during televised football games. In the sketch, all the players being introduced had unusual names. Rodgers pronounced his own name as Aaron Rodgers in a callback to a sketch from the show's first season, Humanitarian and Charitable Efforts. Rodgers is the founder, and with co-creator David Gruber, of It's Aaron, with a mission of creating awareness for organizations and people who are changing the world. He is also a supporter of the MAC Fund, Raise Hope for Congo, and other humanitarian and charitable efforts. In a May 12, 2015, episode of Celebrity Jeopardy, he raised $50,000 for the MAC Fund by triumphing over astronaut Mark Kelly and Shark Tank panel member and entrepreneur Kevin O'Leary to win the funds. External links. Names in bold are still active.